I'm sitting here with the founder of the Ontario Hypnosis Centre and one of my greatest mentors, Dr. Georgina Cannon. She's been one of the forerunners of hypnosis in Ontario and probably indeed in Canada, and has done a lot for the advancement of hypnosis in Ontario, and has promoted and allowed much of the public to understand exactly what hypnosis is and how it can help in so very many ways. Her work focuses primarily on dealing with corporate clients, but at the same time she does incredible work in a more metaphysical aspect in terms of past life regression and life between lives, and she does a fantastic job in bridging the two and helping clients to be able to navigate these sort of disparate occurrences or these disparate pieces in a very effective way. So Georgina, if you could just introduce yourself to our audience.
Sure. Georgina Cannon, and I have been working with the tool of hypnosis for 16 years now, and find it an extraordinary modality to help people with relationships, with themselves first, and then with each other, either in the corporate world or through past lives, with their soulmate, find their soulmate, learn to live with their soulmate, because sometimes, you find them and they're not great to live with. And just generally how to improve life through the subconscious mind using hypnosis.
Great. No, I've been in the office seeing client after client coming out of sessions with you, and oftentimes it seems very much like a process that you're taking your clients through step by step. So could you tell us a little bit about how that process unfolds for you?
Absolutely. The first thing, and the most important thing from the way we work here and the way I work, is that we find out the client's view of their world. Because although we may have a perception of what we think could help them, there's no point in us putting our values and our view of our world onto their view. It's a bit like home invasion. It's unkind and it's not very effective, even though we do hear of people trying to do that. So we find out exactly how they view their world and where the quirks are and where they'd like to improve that piece. And we have various protocols that we use out of hypnosis to find out that information. And that can take 1 or 2 sessions, depending on how extensive the work is that needs to be done. And then we actually use, in hypnosis, different modalities to change or alter or repair, sometimes, feelings or attitudes towards life. For instance, we have many people who come in who may be very senior people in the corporate world, but their actual self-value, their feelings of not good enough, is very strong. So we work with them to release that, and we work with them into their blueprint, into their subconscious, so that we can really help them shift that point of view of themselves. And that makes a huge difference.
Great. I know also that, speaking about working with corporate clients, that you have some clients who, as you say, are very senior executives, and they come in and they're very pragmatic, and this is just, changing behavior, nothing too major. And then they seem to move into this different sphere where they're becoming more focused on themselves in a holistic way, and they become interested in moving forward in very many different ways.
Many different ways, because ultimately my goal is to help people find their own magnificence. And by magnificent, I mean first of all, we have to celebrate the way our body works. The fact that it works is a miracle. The fact that our mind works is a miracle. So you have to accept that and realize that. We take it for granted. Once we get past that, then they understand, or they begin to understand, what else there is that they have in their life that already works. Then we can start doing these transferable skills over parts of their life that doesn't work so well. Many of the corporate clients I find have dysfunctional relationships, not only at work but also at home. And because we take ourselves everywhere we go. And once we begin to change something in a relationship, it, like dominoes, it affects everything else. So if we can clear up this piece of the puzzle, it affects the rest. And sometimes clients come in, as you know, for 6 or 8 times. Sometimes they come in for 12 times, and then come back 6 months later, and then a year later for top-up, just to recheck and check the oil, as it were, make sure it's still working.
I just had a client said to me that after 3 sessions, she's feeling so much better, and she was kind of worried. What am I going to come back for? And I'm like, well, whatever you need.
Whatever you need, yeah.
But that brings me to the next question. Hypnosis often helps clients to make a shift or a change very quickly. But even after they've made that change, we still recommend that they come in to be able to integrate that into their lives more effectively. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing prepares people for the ramifications of change. When we change ourselves, it affects everybody around us. It affects our view of our world, but it also affects our world. And whether it's our family or our co-workers or our friends, they see us behaving and acting differently. And it makes them a little uncomfortable. It's a bit like a reformed smoker. They go around proselytizing and telling everybody they shouldn't smoke, which of course we agree with. So we have to help them integrate it and live it as part of their norm, so they're not a newbie. So it really is something that becomes kind and gentle, and they can start using their new self as an example, not talking about it but living it. And sometimes that takes longer than they like, but it's kinder for everybody concerned. And it also means that the change lasts, because if they get a lot of pressure around them to go back to the way they were, then they will. Because, let's face it, people like to feel comfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very true. Is there any case that stands out in your mind where that integration process was very important?
Oh, yes. I have many, particularly in the corporate world. People get used to their boss being a certain way. So when the boss becomes more aware of cause and effect, it's wonderful when someone comes in and says, it drives me crazy, we have this vision, we have this mission statement, and nobody hears what I say. And then we talk about communication styles, and we talk about how to change the way they communicate, and not only at the office, but at home. And it changes everything. So then they come in and they say, I've had a couple of people come up to me at work and say, what have I done wrong? Why are you treating me differently? Am I on the out? Am I going to be fired? Because they feel the difference, and it's not a distancing, but because it's different, they don't know where to put it.
Yes.
That makes sense?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I can see that very easily.
Yeah.
And even if it's a kinder boss, you're still feeling something is up.
What happened here? That's not what I signed on for. I don't like it, but
I wonder if you could shift gears a little bit so you could talk a bit about your work with past life regression and life between lives. You seem to be recognized as one of the experts in the world around that. So I know that's your passion. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, indeed. This is truly a demonstration that we are more than the sum of our parts. Not only through time, but through space, through dimension. And when you actually do the work of past life regression or the life between lives, it's almost like remembering something you sort of kind of knew, but never was confirmed. And when people go through that, it is so profound and so awe-inspiring that you can actually feel it in the room, and their face changes, their eyes change. There's an understanding, a deeper understanding of self, of who you truly are. And you can never unknow that. Once you've got that, you can't pretend anything else. Once you understand that you've been through this and emerged the other side, or you too have been unkind, or you too have been penniless and poor, or whatever, your view of the world changes and your view of humanity changes, because you understand that we're all everything, and it's the pieces we use each day that make us who we are. Having said that, the life between lives piece is all about soul. It's all about the connection to all there is and beyond. And it still blows me away that when clients come in for a life between lives, even though they may have never really read anything about it, they all end up taking this similar journey. They all make the same stops along the way. And part of you as a facilitator is saying, how do they know that? It is so amazing. And yet they all do it. They all connect with the soul circle. They all connect with the council.
I remember when you first started doing this, and myself and a few other people in the clinic were you were using us as your case studies.
Yeah.
And Mark, one of the guys who used to work here, we were talking about it, and this was several months after the fact, and we were talking about our experiences, and I was saying something that I saw, and then he told me something that he saw, and it was the same thing. It was unbelievable how similar it was, and a few of us had very similar experiences. And I know you had a very interesting experience with him Mark, as well, too.
With Mark, yes. He, when he met his guide in the Interlife, and I said to him, if it's appropriate, ask your guide for the name, his or her name. And he said, my guide said, you know. And I said, well, there's no way I can know. Tell him, you know, let's not play games, let's find out. Or he doesn't want to tell us. And Mark said, no, he said, you know. So I said, well, I don't. So could he please give us his name? And the guide gave Mark his name, and it was my guide. It was the name of my guide. And there's no way anybody could have known that because I don't talk about it. And I literally got chills going up the back of my neck. And Mark started to laugh, and he said that he thinks it's really funny, and he's laughing. I said, well, okay, you know, but there's no way anybody could have known that.
Yeah, it's funny. We seem to find when we teach here as well too that a lot of the students that come to us have some sort of connection, and they're always finding other people that they can relate to.
It's certainly in past lives.
Yeah, very much the case. So, how do you tend to integrate the past life between lives work with the work? I've known you work with some families here, and you tend to use that to help. Bring them together?
Sometimes it brings them together, sometimes it brings understanding, sometimes it brings a recognition. So I've had a mother and daughter, and not unusually, you know, there's friction, particularly when the daughter turns a teenager, and it's quite common. But this was even more bitter. This started when the child was really quite young. And the mother came to me, and the daughter came separately. By this time the daughter, I think, was 17, 18, something like that. And we found out through past lives that the roles were reversed in a previous lifetime, but the daughter, who was then the mother, was really wicked and appalling to this child. She would let her starve, she kept her in the basement, she had numerous boyfriends at the time, it was in the early 1900s. I never quite got whether she was a prostitute or not, the mother, who is now the daughter. But the daughter felt abandoned, felt, well, she wasn't fed. She literally died alone in the basement of starvation and slow death. So that impacted their relationship, as you can imagine. And the amount of forgiveness and recovery, that was there were about 3 or 4 sessions after that. And it brought such a huge understanding and kindness to each other. And they will never, never, never argue again or be separate. They're literally joined at the hip.
Oh, that's lovely.
They understand. It's lovely.
So with that, we'll leave it there for now, and I'm sure we'll be doing another interview with Georgina later on. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, please feel free to email them to us. You can send it to info@ontariohypnosiscentre.com. You can visit us online at ontariohypnosiscentre.com. We'll take your questions. We'll be happy to answer them on video for you and send them back to you, or via email if you want it to be more private. And if you have any direct questions for Georgina, please send them to us, and we'll make sure she gets them in response to you.
Absolutely. Look forward to seeing you.
Thank you.